Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.
Did you ever play here? I don't...
Many times. I try to be careful, but
I mean,
I
you
played
in Yugoslavia, right?
I played in Yugoslavia as well as Slovenia.
Really? Oh man.
Yes, I was there. You're probably so young, man. You were a baby. The first time I came to Yugoslavia was right at the cusp of the war, like 90, 91. I used to hear the air raids.
With who?
I used to hear the air was with Greg Osby.
Really? Oh man.
Yes.
I was like 13 then, 12.
That's what I'm saying. You're a little baby, man.
Man.
And I remember that. And then 2 years later, of course, the country was split apart, as it was at the beginning anyway, if you really go back in history.
Yeah.
So, I've been to Bosnia, Belgrade. I haven't been to Bosnia. Belgrade.
Zagreb, probably Croatia. Right?
Zagreb, Macedonia.
Oh yeah, Skopje,
the Skopje Jazz Festival.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Yes. Oh man, I didn't know you were with Osby here. Oh man. Yeah, I love that.
That's the first time. That was my first time pre-Slovenia, Yugoslavia, yes.
Wow.
And I think I went there with Dianne Reeves once as well, when it was still Yugoslavia.
Oh yeah, exactly, like late 80s or early 90s. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I just have to start with this. I have to tell you this. We talked once years ago about a tour that's like 12 years ago anyway.
Oh my gosh, man. Well, with the pandemic, I don't remember 12 days.
No, but
forgive me.
Well, what I wanted to say is, like, you've been one of my favorite drummers, and you have one of the most recognizable styles for me, at least when I hear you. I'm like Billy Kilson. Why I'm saying this, because 2 weeks ago I led a guitar workshop, and they had also drummers, right?
Okay.
And we did one of my tunes like on the combo workshop, like quite a heavy one, and there's like this structure where the drummer had a solo on.
Okay.
He played a really good solo, and I was like, man, that was excellent, man. You sound like Billy Kilson. That was like some Billy Kilson stuff.
And you're still alive? That drummer let that slide, man?
But wait a second. And he said, man, Billy Kilson was my teacher. And I was like, whoa, yes.
Who was that, man?
Yosuke Doki. He's in Basel.
Oh, yes. Actually, yes. Wow. He just emailed me because I changed my Facebook profile. That is crazy. I can't believe you said that. That's kind of weird, spooky, cosmic, because he's the only student. Like, I have this ride cymbal, and I guess everybody, well, I tell the students anyway, but he was the only student, as soon as he hit my ride cymbal, you could see the drum setup profile on my page. But anyway, he sat down the kit, hit the ride cymbal. He said, wow, I know this sound. Why do I know this sound? And then he asked me, did you use this ride cymbal when you were playing with Hank Jones at the Blue Note? And I'm like, how did you know that? There was countless, students just come and just play it. I don't say anything, And it's not that special, but it is special to me. It's not that special for a younger musician. It's not a big K or something.
Yeah,
it's a mini bell Sabian. It's a DeSimone signature ride. But Yosuke knew that. I can't believe that, man. That's my man. I'm so proud of him then.
Yeah, but it was so funny because like he played such a killing drum solo. I was like, man, that sounds like Billy. And he was like, yes, Billy was my teacher.
I know, Yosuke.
I was proud of myself and of him, actually,
That's great. Well, that's a great send-off little story you dropped on me, because I'm going to start tomorrow, and of course there's a lot of anxiety wearing the mask and trying to figure that out, but that's a great send-off story, man.
I was like, I have to share this with you, because
that's a perfect affirmation to, like, okay, that's great. It's a foundation. That's why you do what you do. Oh, that's beautiful.
Exactly.
That's beautiful. Well, the interview's over. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so great. That was cool. No, but thanks so much, man. I've been a fan for years, like really, since the Osby and Dianne Reeves. Like when I was a teenager, I started listening, and especially then the Dave Holland stuff. And the billows of rhythm, your tune, I transcribed all the lines and everything. And
oh man,
but I just want to start first with this question. Like we started with the drum solo, and I listened to the other day. Like there's this solo now. You've probably seen it. You played it, of course, with Chris Botti and the Philadelphia Orchestra, and you play like a 6-minute drum solo. And the crowd is screaming and clapping in between, and you play like the most amazing stuff there is. But I wanted to ask you, like, or there's like, the stuff you did on Dave Holland's Free for All, like long extended solos. How do you approach a solo like that? Let's say that will go on for 4 minutes or 5.
Well, you know what? That's a great question, because I do not plan for the solo to go on for 4 minutes, and it's not like I sit here and say, okay, minute 1, okay, and then at minute 2 we're going to do this. It just depends, sometimes, like, I love Red Fox, and he said sometimes I get it right, a good joke, sometimes I don't. So I don't actually plan for it. But however, when you speak of Yosuke and giving me props as teacher, and what I share with Yosuke, what my teacher shared with me, and I'm always thinking of melody or some type of melodic motif. If it's not, even if it doesn't matter if it's again, in any type of melodic motif, whether it's bass line, ostinato form, or harmonic rhythms that are repetitive, some type of motif, and then grow from there and attempt to improvise from there. That's sort of like my vamp, if you will. That's pretty much the concept. I don't know if that's answering your question, but that's pretty much the concept. And if there's a flow that's happening, which was inspired by Elvin Jones, watching him and listening to him, he has such an incredible flow. If it's a flow and is in, like, let's say a segment moves seamlessly to the next segment, and I'll just keep it going. If it feels like it doesn't, I'm out.
Interesting. Yeah, because it makes so much sense when I listen to your drum solos, even if it's like over an odd meter structure with Dave or with Chris, like it's just like,
it's the same concept. I mean,
but still,
there's a tune. Dave has like you said, many different odd meter tunes, or if it's Chris Botti that just has a basic kind of one kind of drone kind of thing, and the concept doesn't change. The concept is the same. Yes.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's just like, for me, it's like water when I listen. It's just like,
my gosh, man!
It goes like to like to some rocks, and then somehow goes there again.
Now you tap into my Bruce Lee philosophical business, man. Now you tap into that.
No, I studied poetry. I always imagine music also like as some
be
sort
water,
of,
my friend.
Yeah. No, but I wanted to ask you regarding Chris. Like, I've read an interview of his, and he says hiring you was one of his best moves of his career, and
that's very kind.
I've spoken to Mark Whitfield also. I did this talk with Mark, and I know you guys play together, and everyone has such amazing stories about you. But I wanted to ask you, how did this story with Chris happen, actually? Because
I like to tease those guys, and I just did a gig this weekend, not with Chris, with another artist, and they said, "Man, are you the drummer that played with Chris Botti?" I said, "Yeah, I'm the one that put the O in Botti. He was called Botti before." It's like Chris Botti, Beatty Botti. What is his name? But I put the O in his name. I put that
Botti,
that long O there. You know what? There's a Dave Holland connection.
Really?
I remember it like yesterday. I was playing. It was a festival in St. Louis, and I want to say 2003. It's my last, and it turned out to be my last year playing with Dave. But it was one of the last few gigs we did, and it was a festival. Dianne Reeves was on the festival.
Wow.
it was many different artists, and Chris Botti had his smooth jazz band. And they were killing. He was killing. The band was great. It was guys from LA. One guitar player from New York, Mark Schulman. He's like still to this day one of my favorite guitar players.
Yeah.
And anyway, I'm playing with the big band with Dave, and I remember this gig so well because Michael Jordan was hanging out at that gig. So that I've never done a gig where Michael Jordan. It was something with Dave, what's his name? Bob Costas, all that whole kind of crew. So they must have had something to do with it. I don't know. But that's the one and only time I ever met Michael Jordan. That's why I remember it like yesterday.
Oh man, that's cool.
But I remember looking down, and if you ever seen my solo when I'm playing, people always ask, Billy, what are you looking at? Or were you? I'm trying to find the most tranquil spot to kind of focus on. But at this moment, I'm in my solo, and I look over, and I see Chris Botti, who I didn't know that was Chris Botti, right? So he's pointing and talking to Dianne, and Diane's probably saying, "Oh, that's Billy Kilson," blase blase. And I get off the drums, and he's like, "I have to have you in my band," True story. And I said, "Oh," I wanted to say, "Sure, kid." I didn't know we were the same age. It's like, "Yeah, sure, kid. We'll see," because I'm deep into the Dave Holland and kind of like, the jazz musicians, kind of snobbish, intellectual. Like I'm not playing that stuff, man. But the rest is history, man. I ended up playing it for 11 years. Play with him for 11 years, man.
Man, well, that's amazing. But it sounded like really fun. I mean, when I looked at you, I never saw this band live, but there's Newport footage and like lots of live. It looked like amazing.
Well, early on, I would say the first few years, it was like a great kind of, I hate labels, but sort of like a fusion rock funk band, if you will. Later on, it turned into sort of like some of the folks nicknamed it like this review, but it was more the Cinema Paradiso kind of, Nessun Dorma kind of thing. So where the improvisational part of the
not so much space.
Yeah, that was more in the background and more, which makes sense. That's what happens. I mean, you go where the money. I mean, if that's putting the money in the seats, hey man, Nessun Dorma it out. Definitely do that, man. Don't give that drummer that 6-minute solo. That's boring, man. You don't want to do that, man.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's business, and then that evolves. But that's what happens. That's the business. That's cool. But it was 11 good years though of
that's a long time. Yeah,
that's a long time, man.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, but you mentioned before Elvin, and your teacher was Alan Dawson, right? Who's for me only one of the most underrated drummers. I have those records with Yaki Byard and Booker Irvin, which are killing with him. And you have to check out. There's a new record with Alan, Harvey S on bass, and Mike Stern.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I haven't heard about that.
I can send you a link. It's like live from '85. They're playing like Softly's in the Morning Sunrise. Like,
oh my gosh, man.
And Alan is killing it.
Of course. I probably if it's 85, I graduated. It might have been earlier, maybe earlier. If with Stern, it might have been even earlier because I think I was at Berkeley when Stern was, because by that time I think Stern left, might be even earlier, Samo, because I think Stern left to play with Blood, Sweat, and Tears around 83, 82, 83. But oh man, I gotta hear that.
Yeah, I'll send you. It's incredible, because they're just playing like these up tempos and stuff like that.
Oh
it's just
my
like, man,
gosh, man.
But I wanted to ask you, like, how was, because you were learning with Alan for a long time, right? And what was his approach, and what did you like really? What was the thing that really drew you to his playing? Because for me, he's like an incredible drummer, but many people don't really know him actually.
Man, what drew me to Alan's playing? Of course, like any other Well, first of all, I heard before I came to Boston that he was Tony Williams' teacher. So
Yeah.
I thought, well, if he can teach Tony Williams to play like that, I have like maybe a shot here. And of course, as all teachers, we study with someone because they play faster than you. They have chops. It's like, how do you do that? But once I maybe the complexities, he made so many complex rhythms, so many complex phrases look so incredibly easy. That was the intrigue. How do you do that? How do you play that bass drum? But it's not, you're not using it as boom, boom. How are you to you're using it as another time. You use it as a, I mean, it's like your, I mean, well, it is his appendage, but it's like it's his third hand, as opposed, you know, like we're playing a paradiddle, if you will, just right, left. But he might do that. Okay, my bass drum's going to play my right hand, and my left, hand is going to play the snare drum. But he's still playing. I'm like, whoa, and when you don't know, and you know it's a paradiddle, but if you're not that, I guess, experienced, and when you see a drummer, now I see a drummer and I'm like, oh, he's playing a paradiddle. You're thinking, what pattern is it? What the hell is going on? So that just making, like I said, turning like rhythms and flipping them like that and making them seem so simple. Like I said, these are complex things he's playing, but he made them so simple. And then, like I said about the bass drum, I didn't know, Samo, that, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Oh, Samo. Yeah.
Samo. Okay.
Samo.
I didn't know the drums could do that. I mean, I came from a pop funk background. So, I went to Berkeley at 18, which was 41 years ago this month. And I thought everything was top down, if you will. It's smack the snare, hit the tom-toms, hit the bass drum, crash, I didn't know it could be crash, tom, snare drum, bass drum. I didn't know that.
Yeah, man.
So man. The intrigue. I mean, if I had to pick one word, intrigue. He was the most, to this day, I mean, he's in that corner there. He's like, I have him over my shoulder.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
He's like sitting there when I'm practicing and I think I'm all that, I'm like, yeah, I'm playing. And Alan's like, nah, man, no, you're not. I to this day, I haven't found anyone that can raise the level of intrigue I've seen or heard at all. No, and I would say, when I mentioned Elvin, well, you have Elvin, Max, Philly Joe, Roy Hayes, Art
Tony,
Shadow, I can keep going. But Alan's here. Why? Now, of course, it's my opinion. Why is he here? And everyone else, you have like Alan, then Mount Rushmore. I'm sorry.
Wow, man.
Alan's at the apex, and then you have Mount Rushmore. Why? Because they couldn't teach like Alan.
Yeah, that's so important. Yeah.
That's another level. Since I've been teaching, I don't know many musicians that can teach on the level, on such a high level that they play on. I don't know anyone that could do that.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, so many people had bad experience. You go to a really famous drummer or guitarist or whatever, and their lesson is going to be terrible.
Yes, the
it's
patience
important to have
and humility. And he was so, humble, man, and he respected his students, but because I guess he respected himself as well.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? But it was all about the kit. It was the music and the kit first with Alan, no doubt.
Yeah, there's the answer. Yeah, that's amazing. But you mentioned Tony also. Was Tony, like, when you were a teenager, one of the triggers why you started more diving into jazz, or?
No, I mean, well, wow. I heard it's hard to answer that when you said jazz trigger. That's great, man. I never had anyone ask that. I have like a funk background, and like most drummers my age, I'll be 60 next year.
Oh
So
man,
we're all like
really?
James
Man,
Brown,
you're amazing. Good.
or we're all James Brown,
Yeah.
R&B. Most guys, drummers like myself that have the funk background,
Yeah,
so
sure.
music R&B background. So that fast forward maybe 15 years, a guy in high school laid on me a record with Stanley Clarke, and Lenny White was playing drums.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I'm like, oh shit. So you know what we do? It's like the same thing we do now, that you go on YouTube and it takes you down another portal.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm trying to find. So I found a Lenny White album with Ron Carter and Freddie Hubbard. I'm like, cool. Let me find the next Lenny White album, or Stanley Clarke album, but it's Tony. And I found an album with Tony with Stanley Clarke, which was called Stanley Clarke. And the record with 4 More, which was Tony's playing on that. And I never heard a drummer that could play like kind of like, I didn't know Lifetime at that time, but kind of Lifetime rock and roll, kind of up and down, if you will, and then back to the complex rhythms, swing like
swinging.
That.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
yes, that was probably my first true introduction to real jazz, if you will. You know, fusion, some people would argue, I don't think it's changed now, but some jazz purists would say fusion is not jazz. Well, I think if you improvise, it's jazz.
Sure.
Swinging, if you will, that would be, I guess that Tony is the conduit, I guess, taking me to the whole jazz thing. And then, of course, inquiring, and then people say, check out Alan.
Then it happens.
That's why I went to Berkeley, because of that.
Yeah. No, you mentioned swinging, like, and Dianne Reeves. I remember that there's that, I think, Love for Sale on the first one. I remember, man, you're swinging like it's the first time I got to know you was through Dave Holland. I mean,
right.
And then I dug deeper years, and I was like, man, I listened to those records. You're like, man,
sure. I mean,
swinging,
most people don't. That was my last year of playing with Alan, studying with Alan.
Oh, really?
I studied with Alan when I was playing Ahmad Jamal, right? I played with Dianne right after Ahmad Jamal, and it was my last few months of studying with Alan. Still.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's just I don't think many people know this side of you, because especially if you talk like to younger generation of, they're like, this Billy's because this fusion, odd meters. But then you're like, man, you're like swinging like crazy on those records.
Thanks, man.
But I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Ahmad Jamal and Dianne Reeves. After finishing studying at Berkeley, how did this gig happen, actually? I mean, like...
Well, I don't want to have this interview that long, but to try to make it as short as I can. I graduated, and I tell everyone that I'm one of the few that graduated of my generation, and I'm proud of that. But at that time, none of us were proud of that. You wanted to just go to New York and do a gig.
Yeah, sure.
But there's a 3-year hiatus or 3-year of no gigs, like, just local gigs in Boston, nothing. When I let's see, well, I said 3 years, 2.5 years. I graduated May of 1985. My first and I say professional gig is when someone buys your plane ticket, pays for your hotel room, and you stay there, in the room by yourself. You're not sharing. Okay, now you've reached a professional gig level. And that was with Walter Davis Jr., who was like my musical uncle. And then then the following summer was Donald Byrd, 88. The following summer, later that year, was Ahmad Jamal. I did Ahmad Jamal 88, 89. And then I did Dianne the end of somewhere around winter 89, I think. And then played with her for a while after that. So this is many years removed from Berkeley.
Yeah.
Many years. That's probably why I have a better story for a lot of the students that it's their last year and they're like, what the heck am I going to do? What am I going to do, Billy? And they feel a little bit like they feel a little melancholy because a lot of their peers, they're at Smalls doing it, man. Even through the pandemic, they're doing some kind of streaming or something. But it's whenever you'll get to your destination by any means necessary, if you will.
Definitely.
All streets will take you to your destination.
Yeah,
for sure.
But so after Berkeley, you went straight to New York, right?
No,
No,
I did not. Nope. I taught at a place called the New England Telephone Company.
Oh, wow.
For about 3 years. I did
Oh,
that.
wow.
Yes, I did.
Oh, man. Oh, that's
to make a living. I did that and did wedding gigs.
Yeah, sure.
For about 2.5 years, almost. Well, I did that. Yeah, 3 years because like the tour with Walter Davis was I don't want to say only 1 month, but that was the only gig I had the entire year, like professional gig.
Yeah.
Everything else was like corporate gigs, wedding gigs, which was totally cool. And waking up in the morning, getting on the train, getting off at Arlington Station and walking into my office and say, hello, this is, what did I say? Welcome to New England Telephone. This is Billy Kilson. May I help you, please?
That's so beautiful.
I did that for 3 years. And the first time I didn't move to New York, I remember contemplating and going through it. It was a really rough patch, like, should I do this? Am I going to do this? Is it my calling? All of that, what am I doing, man? Am I fooling myself? Whatever, all the negative. And I remember unfortunately, I don't know who it was, but it was someone uptown in Harlem, and it was a musician. And he told me, he said, Billy, move to New York on a gig. Don't try.
Oh, yeah.
You just move to New York on a gig. Well, I got the luckiest break. I'm playing with George Duke. We were playing at the Apollo, and him and I were talking. He said, move now. Everyone's gonna think you're the you know what, man. You're the man. You got the gig with George Duke, man. You're playing the oh man, well, Billy, can you do this gig? Billy, can you do this gig? You know how it works, man. If you don't have anything to offer, or if you don't have the flashy colors, all the cosmetics, bells and whistles, you're not that attractive, man. It's all image, man. So yeah, that's when I moved to New York, 91.
91, already. Only then.
Because I tried to move early on. It's a dark story. I tried to move to New York, but no, did not happen. So that was how about this? That was my second attempt to move to New York. You can fill in the blanks with there.
I will. But how was it when Ahmad or Walter called you, like, for the first professional gigs? Like, how did it make you? Did you go to Europe with those guys as well? I mean,
I did.
How was that experience like?
Oh my gosh, man! It was almost like, I don't know. Have you ever been to the States?
Yeah, sure. Do
you still remember the very first time you went to the States, and did you speak English well when you came to the States?
Stuff like that, yeah.
Okay, so if you came to the States, it's different for you guys because you had a heads up. All we had was the library, or I don't know, some PBS special or something.
No, but okay. I remember my first tour as a leader in Europe when. Like it sounds stupid, but they put you in a 4-star hotel, and the breakfast, and for the first 3 days you eat everything on the breakfast because and you drink a lot, and then you realize, wait a second, it's 4 days, and I'm just like, and then you settle in this normal routine.
Well, I mean, and that's what I mean. I mean, yes, it's that when you're so incredulous, you're so naive, everything seems so new, so everything just literally, I mean, you could go to another city and it could be foreign if you've never been anywhere.
Sure.
So just the the flight was, that was my first time ever flying from JFK. You know, flying from Boston, Logan to JFK was quite an experience with Walter Davis. What's one story? I showed up at the airport. This is my first time ever traveling on a professional gig. So I do remember this. I showed up in Europe, and I didn't know at festivals or at clubs they had drum sets. So I didn't have multiple cases, well, not multiple. I had multiple cases. That's wrong. I didn't have like large cases where I could put 2 or 3 toms in. I had my rack tom case, like, you know, I had 2 rack tom case, floor tom case, bass drum case.
Oh man!
I had my trap case, which was supposed to be, you know, like for my hardware. I had my snare drum case and my cymbal case. I don't have a suitcase yet. So I show up at JFK, man, with my drum set. And Walter Davis said, "Are you insane, man?"
Oh, man.
And I went everywhere in Europe with my drum set and never played it once, never took drums out of the case.
That's beautiful. Hilarious.
So you're talking about incredulous, man, naive, man. Yeah, that was me. That was my experience.
That's beautiful. That's
so I'm a professional now. I'm a pro. By the time I go with Ahmad Jamal, I just had my cymbal bag and my stick bag. I'm like, yeah, let's get it on, man. I'm cool now.
That's so cool. That's so beautiful. But I also wanted to ask you of you becoming a band leader. But first, I just want to ask you one thing. Like, how did the story with Dave happen, Holland? You know, that's one of my favorite bands ever, the Quintet. And like, you know, how much were you aware of the drum heritage of Dave's band? Like, you know, Marvin Smitty Smith played before, and you know, very often
Gene Jackson,
yeah,
Jack DeJohnette.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man!
How did the story with Dave happen?
I was extremely cognizant of that, and the thing is, if I thought about it too much, I might have told Dave no. If I thought about it too heavily, man. Well, I'll try to keep this as short as I can.
Please, come on, please.
There's an Ahmad Jamal connection there.
Oh, really?
Dave. Yes.
Oh.
I was, and I just think this is just the universe and stars. So this is when I'm working at the phone company. I'm playing with a local gig. Ahmad Jamal's in town. He has a night off, and the bass player, James Kamak, wants to see one of his favorite bassists, Dave Holland. Well, I was playing a local big band there. It's called the New England Conservatory Jazz Composers Alliance, and they would host many different artists for the week or a couple of weeks or whatever, or maybe the month. I can't remember now. But Dave Holland was one of the artists that they were hosting, Dave Holland, and they called me to play drums. I'm playing on the gig. James Kamak comes to the gig to see Dave Holland, but he makes a beeline and said, "Who the heck are you?" Ahmad Jamal's looking for a drummer, and I play with Ahmad Jamal. So I do that, and many years later, so after I moved to New York, Gene Jackson was playing with Herbie Hancock. Dave called me. He said he got my number from, I think he got my number from Gene. And he said, "Gene Jackson gave me your number." He said, "Billy's great to sub." He said, "Billy, why do I remember that name?" And we're talking. And so I reminded him because, you know, he's Dave Holland. I'm Holland. I'm just Billy Kilson, person that you can't pronounce the last name. So, you know, I said, "Hey," like a geek, you know, I'm the guy that played drums with you on this Jazz Composer Alliance. You don't remember me? And he said, "Yeah, I remember you. I remember." So I subbed for Gene a few gigs. Gene's was his schedule or whatever. There were schedule conflicts with,
Mhm.
Herbie, and which I would like to have had Herbie and Dave, and that's how we started working together.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, it's such a strong group. Also, you and Dave, you're both so
Oh man,
flexible when playing. Like around these structures.
The story behind that is something that I share with my students even today, and I probably will start that tomorrow. I'll keep repeating that.
Oh,
that
please.
So Dave, when he called me, when he asked me to officially join the band, he said, we have a rehearsal, and I'm thinking, cool. And I get to New York, somewhere on the Upper West Side, well, maybe Upper West Side of Manhattan. There's a room, maybe not as big as this. This is like, I don't know, 16 by 20, very small room. And it had vibraphone. They had a set of vibraphones. They had an upright piano. But when I got there, Dave was there. And I'm thinking, cool. And he said, let's play a couple of tunes. We played a couple of standards. Half hour goes by, 45 minutes goes by, and no one shows up. And I'm not going to ask, because I'm thinking, shit, man, I get to play with Dave Holland. This is cool. 2 hours goes by, and then Dave said, cool, man, would you be up to doing this? Let's say today's Tuesday. Are you down? What are you doing Thursday? And I mean, I'm sure I had something to do. I said nothing, man, because that wasn't important. And so I said, yeah, but cool. Just tell me what time. And I show up. So we did this for weeks on end, man. Just Dave and I playing duets.
Really?
Duets. And then Steve came. Then now we're playing this trio. Tunes. I mean, standards. Softly, like Love for Sale, A-Train, just playing tunes. We're just playing tunes, man. Run of the mill, basic tunes. We're on the bus. We're on the bus in Europe, maybe not that long, maybe 2 or 3 years later. We're on a bus tour. Then I had the gumption, the guts, I guess, to ask Dave, can I ask you a question, man? What were those rehearsals about? What were those duet rehearsals about, man? And he said, it took you that long to ask me this. He said, I wanted to check out your ride. I wanted to make sure I felt comfortable playing with your ride. And so a lot of times I will have the bass player and the drummer play together in the ensemble or in their lesson. I'll have the piano player and the drummer play together, the piano and the bass player. They just, even an ensemble, you guys got it. We should understand each other's interpretation of the language. Until that foundation until that's solid, nothing's going to happen. And I like to think all of the grooves, if you will, all of the pulse movement of the pulse, rather, was all, that foundation was laid out years ago when Dave and I sat down to play, when we played Blue Bossa together.
Wow, man. Oh yeah, because then you play all these amazing structures, and it's just you're sailing through them. Whether the thing is, because 15 or 11 or whatever, it's like.
And what he was, of course, he was a genius with that, and I'm not using that lightly. He was a genius because I knew, like you just said, I knew his movement. It didn't matter whether it was 15 or it was in 3. I knew that it was an innate feeling, like with a physical response, if you will, as well as being able to hear and have some idea where I could predict that he's going to land here, man. I know that for sure.
Yeah, that's how it's here. Sounds like when you're playing together. That's incredible. Yeah. Sure. But I wanted to ask you also this, because how is he or was he as a band leader? Because you also contributed Billows of Rhythms and Wonders Never Cease, the 7/4 thing and the 15/4, and how did this happen naturally? Did he ask you guys, do you have some songs or tunes or?
You know, I don't know if it was the relationship he had with Miles,
Hmm.
and what Miles and those guys, because I know I'm not sure if there's always the funny story that Marcus Miller always would call. Marcus Miller would tell the story that Miles calls him and say, "Hey, didn't I write something on that record?" So he can steal your publishing, you know.
Yeah, sure.
So
Man,
it's I don't know if it's like where Miles like he got from Miles to be generous to letting everyone wrote in the band. So that was one of the first thing.
all right.
I
Wow.
have to say, even the very first record, I remember us somewhere in Italy, and this is when Steve Wilson was in the band because Chris Potter
Hmm.
replaced Steve Wilson.
Yeah, yeah,
So everyone had these. I mean, it was such great writers in the band,
yeah,
let alone great composers. They were great players, but they were great composers in
yeah.
that band.
Robin also, yeah, incredible. Yeah.
Incredible, man. So
Mm.
um, he's Dave said, "Bill, you got to write it too," and I'm like, I don't know how to do that, man. And I remember we were eating somewhere in Italy. We were, I could still see the picnic table, and we're going over voice leading, and we're going over, uh, the chord progressions, what
Hmm.
happens when if you have these chords sit here and they're juxtaposed each other,
Hmm.
but you have this note, it doesn't smooth the bass motion, the root motion, all of that counterpoint. He taught me. I thought, and I'm saying to myself, you should have been my harmony teacher or composition teacher at Berkeley, man. I don't, but I mean, of course, it's not Berkeley's fault. I didn't pay attention. I
No,
just paid
no,
attention to
sure.
playing the paradiddle, right? That's all I wanted to do all day. But Dave, I remember him sitting me down, and he was, I would guess, how do I say, like reinforcing what I learned at Berkeley.
Mm.
And give me, kind of like not a crash course, but like a quick reminder, if you will.
Yeah,
Like, remember this, you remember this, you remember this, and sit down at the piano and play this. And okay, if you're playing this chord, like I don't know if you're playing the minor 7 flat 5 chord,
hmm,
think of the upper structure, think of the third, and you can
mm.
play instead of a major chord, think of a minor triad, and then put the root back, and now you have a D minor seven
That's
flat
the
five.
talks you had with Dave, kind of like that.
It's
Oh
kind of cool.
man,
That was kind of cool.
are you kidding me? Jeez, I would
It's
love
kind
to
of
be
cool.
there. Wow. Okay.
So I mean, like just that generosity,
Yeah.
it opened another door, which was really cool, really,
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. I love those tunes. Like especially like I said, Billows of Rhythms. That's for me. It's so beautiful how you develop it. The
And
unisono
Dave stayed
lines
out of
and
the way, and it was cool. He stayed out.
so
He
cool.
stayed out of the way. He always said though, that's one thing he did say: think about the players.
Yeah.
Think about the players. So that
Right
was
for the
easy
players.
because you got
Yeah.
incredible players, man. It's like here are just a couple of notes. You guys just go ahead, man. But yeah, man, think about the players. Think about their motion. Think about their concept. And that really helped as well. Yeah,
Mm.
Billows was a pretty good one.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. But this leads me to just to asking you as a band leader then. I mean, I know Pots and Pans. I had that one, and you did while you were sleeping even before. Like, how did it happen? You becoming a band leader, and did Dave encourage you also, or like did you just like?
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he encouraged that. Again, I guess it's Miles. What he learned under
Mm.
the tutelage of Miles. Um, excuse me. Why did and you know what? I guess how do I think of this? You you just want to expand. I guess artistically, you want to
Yeah, sure.
expand. So it's kind of like I think Michael Jackson said it best. It's like, I just have something to say. I mean, that's why he left his brothers. I mean, he didn't leave his brothers, but
No,
I
no, but
just
I
have
understand.
something to say. So I wanted to express myself in a different form or fashion. And that was the next natural course, was to attempt this thing of being an independent band leader.
You like it as being a band leader? I mean, like this role.
That's a good question. That's a good
pressure
question.
in brackets. I mean, like
it's a lot. You know what? It's not the pressure. The
responsibility, maybe,
because the responsibility.
Yeah.
Yes, the responsibility. As a band leader, and then the responsibility of, you're almost therapist, psychologist as well for the band as well as yourself.
Yeah.
And after a while, I'm pretty sensitive. So, being that drummer, not like yourself, you're on the front line. So, I mean, the drummers were the alphas, and we're the alpha dogs. So we feel like everything begins with us. But however,
it does. It does.
But then you are so, if you're a humble musician that happens to play drums, what Alan taught me, what Ahmad Jamal taught me, was the music, and the music is first. The musicianship is first. The audience participation, the audience enjoyment, if you will. That's very important. Do they feel inclusive? Not where they can clap along. That's not what I mean. Where they kind of get, we're not, we're like, are we these guys or ladies off in a corner, and we're like, Socrates, Aristotle, and like everyone else is at the party, like, man, look at those guys in the corner, they're deep, man. What are they saying? Are we that, or are we going to be inclusive where they feel like, I can get that, I understand that? And I'm so sensitive to that. If I have band members that are not as, they don't have to be as sensitive, but if they don't have the same sensibilities, then it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Challenge.
It is. Yeah. You still plan something as a band leader, like in the upcoming?
I do.
Yeah?
I do have a couple of projects that are in the early stages. Some people that I'm working with, I'm really, really excited about doing this. I haven't, okay, this is my public announcement, I guess. But yes, I do.
Oh, yes, beautiful. Like, is it kind of the same vein, like as Descension, Rising, like this more, or like going more funky fusion or more jazzy? Or
it's great. Okay, there's I can tell you this, and this would make sense. I don't know if you knew a great arranger named Bob Belden.
Oh, sure. I mean, I have a radio check. Oh man, this is funny. I have a radio show on national radio, Slovenia. And just today, I recorded one for Thursday, and I'm presenting the Straight to My Heart, the Sting album of Bob Belden. I just played it today, actually. But
awesome.
Yeah, please.
Well,
sorry.
Well, it was a few months before he died, and he was always beat me up lovingly, and he would always beat me up and said, Billy, you have to do what you do. You keep doing. He was very critical of the records that I did, recordings, and when I play, he's like, nah, man, that's not you, man.
Wow.
You do everything, man. You can't just do one album, this one. You do everything, man. You should just, whatever you hear, you should do that. You should document that. So, and pretty much in honor of him, that's where, I guess that was the forward motion. That was the impetus for me to say, and especially, we've all been sheltering in place for the last 18 months almost. Yeah. And so lack of gigs, if you will, that it was kind of like I'm forced. It's just like yourself, I'm sure. You're forced to write a little different. You're forced to work on things, that's the silver lining in the COVID. You first work on scales and work on motion, the same with the kit, but then I'm forced to compose and think, or even push myself to think a little different. So yeah, I am. I have been doing it, but in Bob Belden's work, for Bob Belden, I want to try something a little bit different. I remember even this is about a couple of years before Wallace died, because Wallace Roney died at the beginning of COVID. He's one of our first COVID casualties, and he was so kind and so encouraging, and we had talked about doing some stuff. So I'm working on that. I'm working on it.
Oh man, so much looking forward to that. So, oh, beautiful. Just one last question, Billy. Like, I listened, we started also mentioning Hank Jones in the beginning of our conversation. And I listened to the other day, from Tokyo, you playing Round Midnight, I think, and Blue Miner is on YouTube. And, Hank Jones.
Yes, probably Blue Miner. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Round Midnight. That's right.
Man, it's so beautiful what you guys do. And like, how was it to play with Hank, also like one of the greats? And how did that one happen?
Oh my gosh, man. Oh. Almost like how can I say this? There's a saying. There's a saying. I hope I can get this. I probably can't get this right. Of course I have to paraphrase, but that experience is something that still is a wonder. Like, did I do that?
Well,
did I play? Wait a minute. And and I would ask my wife, like, are you sure I played with Hank Jones? And she put on, she'll show me the CD, or she'll put on YouTube. She said, "Sweetheart, look, but are you sure that is still an enigma? It's like, how did that happen? And it was in the middle of me playing with Chris Botti. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2-9 or something like that.
And yes. Yeah. And I remember telling those guys, it was a little bit heady, and they were saying, "You can't do it." I said, "Well, that's the end of my Chris Botti tenure, because I'm playing with Hank Jones." Yes, I am. It was an incredible experience. It was a magical experience. It was a historic, where I mean academically educational experience. Talking about swing. The stories that he would share with me on the bullet train, the stories
really
share with me sitting, like when we, especially on Blue Miner, and I wish we had that. Now this is 2009, I guess 2008, 2009. We didn't have these things, right?
Yeah,
we didn't have those things that we had it, but it wasn't a video camera.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't a voice memo. That was just still the tape recorder. I wish I had that when he asked me to sit down next to him, and he's working on The Very Thought of You solo piano. So he moved over and he said, "Billy, have a seat. I swear to God." And I still can't believe, I'm gonna try not to be full and start crying. I still can't believe he said, "Billy, now when you check this out," and he's playing, he stops to play, oh man, was it Softly, or what was it, man? Oh man, I forgot what ballad. Oh no, Body and Soul. So he said, Body and Soul, and he just plays the first few measures. He says, "Check it out. Now when she sang Body and Soul, she wanted this. Now check out this motion. She didn't want me to play this here. She didn't want me to move here.
Oh man.
She wanted this motion. Now Sarah, she wanted this motion, but then I couldn't play this bass note. She wanted this. Now when Billy sang, I had to do this." I thought, what?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
So that education, which I can't even play a dominant 7 chord the way Hank Jones would play a dominant 7, my God. So I could not recall, but the knowledge that he dropped, I would say it's almost like, I would say like, he had this knowledge so bottled up, and here's this teardrop of just that, and he just sprinkled it on me, on the top of my head. Like, don't worry about trying to figure it out. Don't worry about trying to analyze it. Don't worry about trying to dissect it. I just put it in your DNA. You got it. So from
it's beautiful.
Sitting at that piano, stories he's telling me sitting next to him on a bullet train to actually playing the kit and talking about the hookup. The best compliment he gave me was, I would say, I mean, he said some very wonderful things, but one of the best compliment he gave me was the very first gig we did. And we were at the sound check, and he said, told the engineer, excuse me, I need more Billy in my monitor. I can't, I need to feel him. He said, Billy, you playing? And I started playing, and he's like, are you playing? You want me to play a little louder, Mr. Jones? So a little loud. Put Billy I need more Billy in my monitor. Cool. Hit the bass drum. He wanted to hear and feel me, man.
Wow, yeah, that's beautiful.
That's Hank Jones, man.
Wow. Beautiful. Thanks so much. That's for me, like listening to this, that's so inspiring. Like really. So thanks so much. It's like,
you're very welcome, man.
Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.